Hey, Chanel here with another Sew Bit. Today we're going to talk about the importance of pressing. Not ironing, but pressing. A lot of people call it ironing. Ironing is when you're taking a garment and you're ironing out the wrinkles, and you're usually sliding the iron around, which actually kind of ruins the grain of the fabric. It stretches it out a little bit. So pressing is more just like pressing using an iron, not your hand. But I had a little girl when I first started teaching sewing. She summed it up perfectly. She said, we were at the pressing table, and she said, "There's not a lot of sewing in sewing." I started laughing, and I thought, that's why I'm teaching kids, because I love to crack up. It's so funny. But it's so true. She said, so you're not at the sewing machine that much. It just sews seams. You're actually at the ironing area, pressing area, more than the sewing machine. So you actually, the pressing actually helps set the seams. It helps it, by pressing the seams open, it helps things look a little more professional. So it's, but when you have to actually go add the other pieces into the whole puzzle piece of your garment, it makes everything easier too. So to me, it just makes it look more professional. So this is a little skirt that we sew in our beginner class, and it just has two side seams, elastic casing. We do a lot of pressing on this casing to get it set in there, and then the hem. But here's the side seam. See how nice and flat it is right here, and then in the inside it's pressed open right there. So that helps set the seam, and then just really makes it look more professional. What can I say? There's a lot of tools that we use in pressing, and one of my favorites is this. It's a sleeve board. This is actually my newest one. I had one that I used for past 20, 30 years, and the dyes of the fabrics over the years have gotten onto the muslin, and I could easily make another cover, but I just haven't. So, but this one, I think I was seeing all different versions of these on the internet, and I think somebody was making them, and then somebody caught on, and I don't know, I just love these ones. But these are like 40 bucks and so well worth it. They're a little different shaped here to get into little different areas of your garments. This is actually a little sleeve board I just found for 10 bucks in a store in LA. This little tools, dressmaking tool area, and I thought this would be great for my little travels of I think you can actually snap it, yeah, and then it goes like that, and it's good for traveling like that. So I'm starting a YouTube channel part for Sew on the Road. Sew Chanel on the road. This is actually an odd looking tool. I just was watching Making the Cut, the Tim and Heidi, and the designers, they were up for $1 million. My gosh. A lot of them had this and were using it, and I was so surprised. It was great. But this is a pressing block, and this is used to actually, after you press a seam, you set the seam in here, and what happens is the steam, if you're using the iron steam, it comes up in here and kind of helps the fabric cool. So a lot of times you have to you'll press it, let it cool, then move it, press it again, let the seam cool. And it's in the cooling that the fold and the creases will set. So like if you're doing the waist casing right in here, and you have to press over this seam right here, you want a strong crease right here, so you press it, let it cool. Press it, let it cool, and then it sets the crease. If the fabric has any polyester in it, or like man-made type fabrics, you really have to let it cool to form the crease. The natural fibers, just a little bit of cooling, it doesn't need as much. But so that's called the pressing block. Those are so great. This is called a ham. You can't eat it, but it's full of it's very stiff here. And this is wool, usually all 100% wool, and it's used to press curves. Also, you can use this as a pressing block too, because the steam will come up into the wool, and works that way too, because those pressing blocks are like 50 bucks. It's crazy. These aren't cheap either, but these are great for curves also. Like, let's say you have a curved like hood kind of thing you're doing, and or any kind of curves. You can actually form it around here, and then you actually do what's called finger pressing, and you finger press the seam open, and then you get your iron in there and you press it right there, and you can actually go over the curves, and it's a great tool. You can hold it in your hand and press it, or you put it on the table and press it. It's a great tool. There's also this tool, which I love. These are great, like when you're working on pants, and you can put them into the pant leg and then press the seam in there instead of like inching it onto a sleeve board. But that just goes in there, and then you're not messing up the other part of the pants. So those are some of my favorite tools. I'm going to show you how to press the seam open real quick too. Okay, so quickly how you do a seam is you just have a seam here, and you open up the seam and finger press it, and then you just press the seam flat. If this had some polyester in it, you just use the pressing block, let it cool in there. Also, all these little points too help to get in. Sometimes you have a garment where you actually got to get into a little point too. You can actually use that to press, to use it as a little help to get into little corners. The sleeve board here is how you use this. It's called a sleeve board because it used to be really narrow here, and you can get the sleeves in it like that, but you use it for everything. Actually, with that skirt, you can actually put it over the end here, and then you can get into the seam right like this, and then you let that cool in there, and then that way you're not messing up all this stuff, and then you can just move it around and then get into other parts of your skirt. So it just really helps get into all kinds of spots and stuff. And then you have one that's a little bit longer here, a little bit more padded in the end here versus here, so it's using both sides. So that's a little bit about pressing and how to use the tools. I'll see you in the next sew bit.